Hello everyone and welcome to our reading. I'm actually super excited to introduce like a new deck that I just got, which is the Philippe Vachier. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's a French name from 1639. It's the oldest complete Marseille deck and it's so beautiful. I am so excited to use it today. It's the first time I'm using it for us. And I don't know, it just has these really beautiful purple accents to it. A lot of times the other decks have more of a blue, like a dark blue, but this one has purples and I don't know. It's the oldest Marseille, so I'm excited to use it. But we'll use it in a second. We're gonna go for the runes first and see what the runes have to say for us. Okay, I'm seeing these four pretty much bang on in the middle. Together in a line. So the first rune we have is Urus, which is the rune of strength. It's really interesting actually that I don't have this deck anymore, but the Runic Tarot, the same creator that did the Heaven and Earth Tarot, the same artist, he created the Runic Tarot as well. And I believe that Urus is actually in the High Priestess card, which normally I wouldn't associate the strength rune with the High Priestess, but I'm just getting that visual in my head and I find that to be really, really interesting. Just because it feels like it's actually talking about, I mean, the strength card in the tarot, I think we pulled this one last reading. So if you haven't seen it, go back. It's the We're Fighting Giants with Thor. I believe it's what I called it that. So Urus strength is very much about inner strength, especially associated with the strength card in the tarot. It's the inner strength. It's taming the lion within. I'm not so sure that in what's going on in the world, our inner lions need to be tamed. It's my personal opinion. This is kind of away from the reading, but my personal opinion right now is we need to follow our intuition. Okay, going back actually to the rune, I believe that's actually the rune is saying, because I just kind of talked about how Urus is in the High Priestess in the Runic Tarot, and High Priestess is intuition. She's the goddess, the divine feminine energy, and not only the divine feminine as the Empress, but she's like the dark feminine in a way, the shadow feminine, the one behind the veil. I've been working with Goddess Hell very closely lately. She's actually an incredible energy. She might be my new favorite for now. Of course, they change and shift as we grow and learn, but Goddess Hell has been a really, really powerful and interesting, I was gonna say rune, because Hagal is associated with her, but very interesting spirit to work with. So I'm very grateful that she has come through. Now, our strength to tap into our intuition. As I was saying, our lions, I think for a lot of us, I think they've been tamed long enough. Now, when I say intuition and the strength to tap into that intuition is that all of us have a part to play. You know, I'm actually thinking about now, I was listening to a song earlier by a beautiful chorus. It's this beautiful band that has really high vibe, positive music. And one of them is just called Hey Queen. And they say Hey Queen over and over again. It kind of becomes a mantra. And it's in my high love music playlist. And it got me thinking of, we're all queens, right? I think there's this thing of like, I'm a queen, you know. And I love that because it's an empowerment energy. It's a moment for, especially people that associate with a more feminine energy. It's an empowerment thing. I get it. I love it. A caveat to that is we are every archetype. We are all queens, kings. We're all warriors. We're all witches in certain ways. We're all mothers, fathers, children's. Does that make sense? Like, I am a mother in a way, even though I associate as a male, a cisgender male. I'm a mother in a way because I'm putting out this video. I create weekly content on my Therapy Tuesday blog. If you guys want to, please sign up. It's free. The link is below. But I give birth to those creations weekly. But I'm also in my masculine energy in a way at the same time, kind of, when I'm giving birth to those things, because it creates this outward moment, this action forward, right? I am a queen or a king because I take control of my life. I take control of my emotions. I take control of my thoughts, my actions moving forward. And I also am in my feminine because I tap into my intuition. I'm working with a divine feminine goddess. I allow, in Viking mythology, in Viking history, there's such a thing as called a satyr. Now, a satyr is associated mostly with feminine magic because it's like the Viking shamanic energy, for example. And it has a lot to do with trances, has a lot to do with embodying spirits. I don't practice satyr, but it's out there if you guys want to learn more about it. Now, there are records of men practicing satyr. But why was it there weren't that many males that practiced satyr. Why? Because in shamanic tradition, for example, a spirit is penetrating you. You're taking a spirit inside of you to give messages. Mediums do this a lot, right? So however you associate with, tapping into the strength of your intuition is a very feminine energy. Now, I don't really love dividing feminine masculine because, again, we are every archetype. We are all of them. We are both feminine and masculine. So if we are both, why are we separating the two, right? Why is there this dichotomy? And I feel like that's actually one of the deep, deep shadow reasons as to why we have so much division in the world. Because I feel like some women are afraid to tap into their masculine, and definitely men are not taught, are not allowed, don't feel comfortable tapping into their feminine, right? We have this whole oh, that's gay, right? No, nothing is gay until you have pretty much same-sex activities is how I view it, but tapping into intuition, tapping into compassion, understanding, tapping into a deep relationship with someone else, a friend, does not make you any less of a man, if I can use those words, right? So I do love this non-binary conversation. I mess up sometimes. Right now, I'm using a very binary vocabulary, right? Binary vocabulary, I like that. We're rhyming today. But I do love the conversation of non-binary because I believe that non-binary people are here really to teach us that there is an ancient language. I'm gonna dare say ancient language, because we know that in indigenous traditions, there were such things as two-spirit people, right? Two-spirit people. And that falls into the category of trans, non-binary, anything that kind of falls outside of this very rigid binary conversation. All right, so moving forward, we have illumination, we have solo. This is the rune of the sun. How beautiful is that? Because it's illumination, it's in the conversation with our intuition. Now, I know I went on a tangent about binary and non-binary vocabulary, but really the thing is, everything is within us. Every one of us has a touch of non-binary. Now, when I say that, I'm kind of going away from just gender expression and going into spirituality, going into the intuition. There's deep strength in our intuition. And when we go deeper into it, we find illumination. The buzzword of years is enlightenment. We find enlightenment, right? I think a lot of us too have kind of been conditioned to believe that enlightenment is almost like the rapture. Even in the story of Buddha as well, there is this idea of like he became enlightened, taught a few people, and then went up to nirvana, I guess. But that's not the case, right? We are constantly being enlightened in little ways. It's not this big, grandiose moment. It's, in my opinion, a series of tiny little understandings, of tiny little deeper understandings within ourselves. And we become enlightened in many, many small different ways. You don't just eat one meal and gain weight if that's what you're trying to do, or you don't work out like one session and then lose weight if that's what you're trying to do. It's a series of actions and decisions. Enlightenment follows that thread. It's a series of choices and actions. And then we go into the mother energy, Berkanos. Berkana is birth. It's actually associated with the birch tree. And it looks like a bee, but I've heard people talk about how it looks like here at the top would be the breasts, and then the bottom would be a pregnant belly. So actually, I love that visual because it goes back to what I said earlier. When you are not afraid to tap into your feminine, you give birth to things. Again, this conversation is so much beyond gender. As I mentioned earlier, putting out this video, putting out my Therapy Tuesdays, that's giving birth to something, of course, a metaphor. But isn't that what life is? All the stories we talk about, all the myths, they're all metaphors for something. So that's why I love in spirituality how, for example, I'm working with Goddess Hell. You may have a completely different experience because you're working with, let's say, the same entity, the same mother energy, but you may need her to show up to you in a different way. You may need her to be a bit harsher or to be a bit softer, or to be darker or lighter. It depends on where we are. So whatever I say about the goddess moving forward, it does not negate your experiences. And I feel like that actually beautifully segues into our final rune, which is Algis. Now, Algis is the rune of the higher self. Also a rune of protection. So bear that in mind because we're kind of going back to the strength energy. Strength to protect ourselves, strength to tap into that intuition, to tap into that inner shadow self where basically everything kind of lies, So we have Algis. Algis, the rune of the higher self. I kind of see this as two things. One, I see a deer, and here are like the antlers kind of growing out. So then it's that connection of the self, of this line in the center, the self, going upwards, almost in a sense of connecting to our crown chakra, right? Also, because we're talking Norse mythology here in a way, it's the branches of Yggdrasil, the branches of the tree of life, which connect us to everything, right? I'm kind of getting a visual now of a forest and the roots, the branches too, especially if it's a denser forest, the branches, the edges of the tree kind of start touching each other in a way, but especially the roots. And that's kind of where Goddess Hel is, and Helheim is in one of the roots of Yggdrasil, the tree of life. And the roots in a forest system, they touch each other. They help each other. If there is a diseased tree, other trees kind of like give nourishment to that tree. And isn't that a beautiful metaphor for us? for us as a community. I think community right now is so important. I know that for a lot of us, it's an online community and it's not always quite that personal, but I'm here for you. There's a lot of people that are here for you. I am here for all marginalized peoples, really. You know, like I said, Therapy Tuesday is free and you guys can comment for free. There is a paid version, but there's nothing in there, for example. It's not like there's a paywall for you. You can pay if you want to support my work. That would be incredible. It'll help me out a lot, but it's not necessary. You can just come to Therapy Tuesday, which is on Substack, substack.com. You can come to my Substack and comment. I will reply. I reply to every comment. Unless it's a stupid comment, unless it's a racist comment, unless it's a horrible comment, then you're getting blocked. But if it's a help comment, if it's reaching out for help, if it's an exchange of ideas, if it's an expression of you, then I'm here for you. Okay, now let's go to the tarot real quick. This video is getting a little long, I think. Okay, we have two cards that came out. We have the Devil and the Moon. Talk about intuition, right? And I do feel actually that Mother Hell is coming through in a way, because the Devil here, she has been, if you look at her, she has a very fierce look. But her energy is so loving, at least to me. But I believe to you too, because I've seen comments and videos that people share very similar energies. She's such a mother figure. She welcomes all. So when I see the Devil here, is I'm seeing the two people, and of course they're chained up, right? Now, what Mother Hell wants us to do is, even though she has this, because of Christianity, she was kind of vilified. She became this Norse devil figure. Also Loki too. She's the daughter of Loki, so they both kind of have this demonic, devilish energy. Well, portrayal. That's what I should say, actually. They have this demonic portrayal of themselves, but that's not the truth, and it's not, well, it's not my truth. It is not how I've experienced it. So I feel like the Devil here is coming through in two ways. One is, this is a portal. This is to, if you're comfortable, of course, this is only a message, if you're comfortable tapping into, I'm going to call it darker energies, because the Devil is an illusion. It was an illusion created for control. Here we have the two people being tied up. Once we tap into that energy, once we kind of dive deeper into the unconscious and dive deeper into the High Priestess intuition energy, which is very moon energy. I think we just had a full moon in Aquarius, or a new moon in Aquarius. And Aquarius is about the rebel. So the Devil here is a rebellious energy. It's a rebellious energy that wants you to break away from dogma, from what you've been told, and experience it for yourself. Listen, if you don't like what you feel, that's okay. You can always step away and find something else that works for you. That's the whole point and beauty of not only life, but the spiritual practice. The beauty about life is that you have choices. And they are your own. You get to own them. You get to keep them. They're the one thing that are yours, always and forever. But Mother Hell, what she has taught me in the short time we've been working together, is that we get to own our intuition, we get to own our path, we get to own our choices, and we get to break free. We get to break free from dogma here. I love that. So we get to break free from dogma. I don't know. I find that to be really beautiful, because when I say dogma, although, watch that movie. I love that movie, Dogma, from like, oh gosh, I don't remember when, 1999? Still a great movie. I love it. When I say dogma, I know that dogma is rooted in religious practices, right? Dogma is like religious rules and religious control. But it's really anything that you feel is constricting you, that it's not really serving you. Now, this isn't a rebel without a cause, all right? This isn't a rebel that fights just to fight. This is a rebel with a cause. I just kind of picked up the deck and it's the 8 of Swords, if you're at all curious. The 8 of Swords to me feels a bit like the devil in a way, because it's very restrictive. We have this little, we pulled this card, I don't remember which reading, but it was maybe a reading or two ago, where we have this little flower here that kind of wants to grow, blossom, expand. But we have these barriers, basically, these 8 swords just kind of keeping within, right? Now look at this shape. Actually, this way it looks like an eye, but this way, look at this shape. Vesica Pisces, and also a very feminine energy, if you catch my drift, if you know what I'm saying here. That's giving birth to things, and that's tapping into a divine feminine energy. Because we're seeing right now, listen, there's nothing wrong with masculine energy. What there is wrong with is unchecked masculine energy, and also unchecked feminine energy too. That becomes manipulative and controlling, and judgmental. But we're dealing with, in the world, is what we're seeing, a lot more unchecked toxic masculinity, which is control, which is stripping away rights, which is stripping away your autonomy, because they need autonomy for themselves, right? I started talking this video about the Hey Queen song, right? And it says Hey Queen, and it's this empowering energy. But we are all the archetypes, and if we're all queens, who is kind of leveraging things? Does that make sense? So I hope that helps you guys. Sending you guys so much love and what's coming forward, and I'll see you guys next week.